We've talked a lot about
Bijan Robinson,
#1 overall player in fantasy football, dynasty, maybe even redraft. Go watch the video if you haven't seen it yet. Link in description. But this man right here should not be neglected. This man right here needs to be considered an equivalent type talent in some ways. The next Nick Chubb. Top 5 to 10 capable. Just because Bijan Robinson's 1 to 5 overall in redraft and especially dynasty, 1 to 3 overall in dynasty, many would say #1. You're going to get no arguments from me that Bijan's #1 in dynasty. Despite Bijan being #1 to 5 overall in redraft, again, watch the video, link in description. That doesn't have any relevance on whether Charbonnet can be a top 5 to 10 running back in 2023. As a rookie, this guy right here can absolutely win leagues in 2023 from a redraft perspective. Let's get Charbonnet.
Get Charbonnet. Pop open a nice bottle of Charbonnet.
this is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
One of the biggest pieces of pushback we're going to get on this Charbonnet as a top 5 to 10 running back in redraft 2023 is landing spot. Same kind of pushback you get on Bijan Robinson. You don't even know where he's going. You've never seen him carry the football at the pro level.
Blah, blah, blah.
I got 2 names to throw at you. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. Rookie running backs are always impressive to a degree. And not all rookie classes are the same. Not all rookie running back classes are the same. I'm not throwing a blanket statement over all rookie running backs and just saying pick 2. They're always going to be absolute monsters. You got to select the right one. Back in December and January, people were running the name Zach Evans out as the #2 running back. He's the #2 running back behind Bijan Smitty. So it's not a case of, oh yeah, it's an easy call. Look, we love Jahmyr Gibbs too. Quite arguably, we're looking at 3 running backs in this 2023 draft class finishing inside the top 10, top 12. One of which, Bijan, finishing #1 overall, or at least being the #1 dynasty running back and being top 5, top 1 to 5 for redraft. Charbonnet in a redraft sense is a 5 to 10 guy. Dynasty 4 to 7, 4 to 8. Jahmyr Gibbs 5 to 10. Little overlap between Gibbs and Charbonnet. Kind of depends on landing spot. I'm not even saying things like 1 has to make it or 2 out of 3 will make it and 1 will fail. I legitimately believe that all 3 could be absolute monsters. This is not about Jahmyr Gibbs. We'll circle back and do a Jahmyr Gibbs video because he needs his own video. You clearly can tell by my tone and what I'm saying about Jahmyr that he's no different really than Charbonnet. We'll get to that in another video. This video is about Charbonnet. Charbonnet runs like Derrick Henry. Charbonnet runs like Nick Chubb. Charbonnet cannot be tackled by one man. One man can't even slow him down, really. It takes 1 or 2 people to literally knock into the guy, slow him down so the 3rd and 4th guy could just corral him and they can all bring him down. A herd of players bringing down Charbonnet. If you don't know how good he is, you're telling me one thing. You have not yet watched his film. It's on YouTube. It's free to go look at. And if you take 2 minutes out of your day to go watch Charbonnet, 2 minutes of his footage, you will come back and apologize to everyone for your mistake. And you will be like, you know what? I don't even need to see anymore. I don't need to hear anymore. What have I been waiting for? This guy is impossible to tackle. More so than Bijan, obviously more than the smaller Jahmyr Gibbs. He's more of a receiving Alvin Kamara type. Again, we'll get to Gibbs. He'll get his own video. He's a top 6 to 10 running back in 2023 and beyond. Charbonnet, stay focused, Smitty. Charbonnet, Smitty. This guy in the right spot is going to mirror Nick Chubb meets Derrick Henry. He will average 5+ yards per carry. He could get 13 to 1,400 yards on the ground as a rookie. 10 to 12 touchdowns is certainly possible via the ground. He's a good receiving back. Where he goes will certainly determine whether he gets involved in the PPR aspect of fantasy football right away. He might not. Landing spot could be more cloudy for Charbonnet than Bijan because Bijan commands higher draft capital. Higher draft capital means that teams that are drafting Bijan, let's say the Bears or the Falcons, they're not going to be as apt to spend said draft capital on a player they're not going to feed the rock constantly to. Through the air, through the ground. Charbonnet falling to a later first-round pick or into the top of round 2 puts a little bit more of a cloudy lens on the situation. High draft capital guarantees that you're not wasting the pick on a player you don't fully need across the board in all facets of the running back position. Going at the top of round 2 puts a little bit of that that, look at Javonte Williams sharing the workload. Is he going to finally get his shot? If Javonte was taken in the top 15 overall, he would have been forced onto the field. It's the nature of the NFL. It's the nature of draft capital. It's how the NFL coaches coach in this game. And it's kind of disappointing at times. And it does suck that these running backs aren't all going Gibbs, Charbonnet, Bijan in the top 15 to guarantee that workload and that trust right away. But don't think for a second that this guy like Javonte would have. Javonte got hurt. We can't control that. But like Javonte did look when he was on the field, this guy's going to look like that. This guy's going to rip off run after run. He's going to be impossible to take off the field. I fully believe he'll grab a hold of all the PPR work within a half a season. If not right away, depending on his situation, is there competition? Is there any viable receiving option type running back on the roster? All those things will be revealed soon. The troubling part about Charbonnet is if he lands in a good spot, we celebrate, right? But he also goes higher on people's rankings. He could climb to number 2 overall consensus-wise for everybody in 2023. So catch 22 goes to a great spot. He's going to get a lot of recognition and people are going to be amped up about him, and he's not going to be a steal. Right now, you can steal him away in round 7. Sometimes round 8. I take him at the end of 6 if I need to, but you got to try and get away with round 7 if you can. Charbonnet as your secret weapon rotation at running back 2 in redraft wins a league. Example, you're drafting Jamar Chase in round number 1. You come back and you grab Kenneth Walker in round 2. You swing in and grab our favorite third-round player, Chris Olave. Use other players if you see this differently. Like, I don't like Olave round 3. This doesn't work for me. Use your imagination, Bob, you complaining Caleb. Put whoever you want in these draft slots. Just imagine it. Close your eyes. Picture it. You get to round 4, you grab cigar smoking Joe Burrow, you get London in 5. First of all, let me just stop and say, are you not winning a championship with Jamar Chase, Kenneth Walker, Olave, Burrow, and London? If you can't win a championship with that team, shame on you. But then we get to Charbonnet. Let's reach for him in round 6 because I don't want this to look like, this is a cakewalk. You'll never draft this team. Put Charbonnet in the round 6 draft slot. Who's our number 1 running back? Kenneth Walker. Who's our number 2 running back? We don't have one yet because we've been stacking wide receiver, quarterback, and running back 1. The Charbonnet deployment in round 6 is your win a league strategy at the one position you've been ignoring because you're going to come in heavy. You're going to come in strong with the sleeper mentality. You grab Charbonnet at this 6th round value. You come in and you get Kamara in round 7 or 8, wherever you can pull it off. And let's say you had to go this route. Kamara in round 6 if he climbs in ADP and Charbonnet round 7. Whatever works for you, whatever the suggested ADP dictates you could probably get away with easiest, you deploy that. Who's not winning a league? Let's get rid of Gibbs so you don't think you're getting Gibbs or Bijan. Who's not winning a league with this team right here? Charbonnet, Kamara as your rotational running back 2, or maybe one's your flex. And if one fails, if Kamara gets suspended for more than half a season or Charbonnet gets hurt and Kamara doesn't get suspended, look at this team. This team absolutely explodes. Tell me you're not winning with this roster. The choice is easy when you get in the round 6 territory. You can go after a Godwin, a Mixon, a Dalvin Cook, a Cam Akers, a David Montgomery, a DeAndre Swift. The list goes on and on. You could go after those guys if you want. Or you could build a team built off glory. Look at this roster. If you ask me, I'm willing to take the chance at going light at my running back 2, deploying the Charbonnet Kamara combo or Charbonnet and other player like Pacheco or Dameon Pierce. Insert whatever combo you want. That strategy is going to put you in the driver's seat to dominate, and it leaves you one vacancy. This running back 2 position. You're dominant at your running back 1. You're dominant at your wide receiver 1. You're absolutely dominant at your wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3, or your flex option if London's your flex. And if you don't understand what you're seeing here, if you're like, how did you get that? I'm looking at it. I guess I could draft that, Smitty, but why is my team not looking like that when I draft? What am I doing wrong? You're not taking best player available, Bob. I've been preaching best player available from the beginning of time. And best player available is where you throw position to the wind, assuming you're drafting starters. You're not drafting the highest ranked ADP player. Best player available to your standards on your ranking list. Even if you're reaching a little bit, it's okay if it's the best player on the board when you're on the clock. And what best player available does is it fills your positions based on talent and not based on the the position. Of course, you're not drafting 2 quarterbacks in a 1 QB league before you get your lineup filled out. You're not drafting a 3rd wide receiver when you can only start 2 and you've got no flex spots. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about within the confines of your lineup requirements. You're drafting best player available, which essentially is as simple as this. Every time you're on the clock, and this sounds easy, this sounds very Captain Obvious of me, but believe it or not, it's very hard for people to stay disciplined and deploy it, but it's simple. Every time you're on the clock, ask yourself who has the most bang for the buck. Who is the best player at this point in the draft, in your opinion? Even if you're reaching 4 or 5 spots, you want this player. They could hit a home run. They could hit the furthest home run out of the park. Think of it like that. Think of it like that. Think of it like, okay, Walker's here, but there's other players here. Walker, could he be top 5 overall? Could he be number 1 overall? The answer is, yeah, he could. So doesn't he feel like at this 2nd round territory, the biggest home run you could swing for? Doesn't Olave feel like he is top 5 wide receiver capable? Maybe you disagree, then insert a different player there. To me, Olave's a home run beyond home runs in the 3rd round. He could climb all the way up here. So far, I've just described my 2nd and 3rd round pick as players that could be top 5 overall. That is best player available. Drake London in round 5. Could he be a top 5 wide receiver? Absolutely. I'm describing a potential 1st rounder with Drake London. I'm describing a potential 1st rounder in hindsight. In Olave, I'm describing a potential 1st rounder in Kenneth Walker. Best player available leaves me vacant and open and potentially weak at my running back 2, but my plan of attack is to draft 2 absolute sleeping giants. And yes, Kamara can be a sleeping giant even though he's a veteran. It's about ADP. This strategy wins leagues. This man, Zach Charbonnet, is going to be a big reason why. Get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com for all your written articles, bold predictions, rankings, redraft rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, super rookie rankings, trade calculators, one-on-one text advice, everything you need to dominate your fantasy football league from a written and tool and bold prediction perspective. This is the site you need, thefantasyfootballshow.com. I've got lifetime memberships that come with 2 years of text advice, one-on-one text advice with your boy Smitty. So get on over to thefantasyfootballshow.com, baby. Right here. Now get out of here.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.